you had to pick one pasuk as being the defining principle, the central core principle for the Torah, what would it be? So the Medrash asks this question. It's a Medrash that's been preserved in the Yaakov. We don't have it in its original form, but suggests, according to one opinion, according to Ben Zoma, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the most basic tenets of our belief that there is one God. Benana says, well, look at the Ben Adam L'Chaveiro realm. Bekiva tells us that Klal Gadol to love another person like you love yourself. But then there's one other pasuk. Shimon Pazi says that there's one pasuk that includes even more than all of this, and the Medrash says that halacha ki ben Pazi, that the halacha is like ben Pazi. What pasuk could he possibly have chosen that was more essential than Shema, than v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha? What else is left? He highlights a pasuk in our parsha, in Parshas Pinchas. What's the pasuk? A very seemingly mundane pasuk at the end of the parsha. Not the exciting beginning of the parsha with Pinchas saving Klal Yisrael, ending the Magefa, but a pasuk towards the end. You should offer one sheep in the morning and a second sheep in the afternoon. It's talking about the korban tamid, the daily sacrifice. That is the core principle of the Torah. What is so central? What is so all-encompassing about bringing a sheep as a korban in the morning and a sheep as the korban as an afternoon? How can that be more basic, more inclusive to Torah values than Shema or v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha? And what appears that what Ben Pazi is telling us is not necessarily the most important mitzvah of the Torah, but rather a pasuk which incorporates a value that will be central to successful avodas Hashem, spiritual growth in this world. And to that, Ben Pazi says that the most critical component is tamid, is consistency, being the same day in and day out. Ben Pazi focuses on the focus of striving for that consistency in our day-to-day service. And it's not easy because we all fall and make mistakes. We have ups and we have downs. We have days that are better and days that are more difficult. That's what's normal. It's a challenge to be consistent day in and day out. Is the tamid really such a big deal? Maybe we can make it even more poignant for us. Because the Mishnah in Taanis tells us that one of the reasons that we fasted for Shivasar B'Tammuz this past week was because there were 5 tragedies that befell the Jewish people on Shivasar B'Tammuz. And one of those was that even though we still had the Beis HaMikdash, the korban tamid was halted. It's not completely clear what the Mishnah is referring to. The Tiferes Yisrael in his commentary on the Mishnah suggests that it's referring to an episode recorded in the Gemara in Baba Kama Daf Pei Beis and Beis, where there were 2 brothers from the Chashmonaim family, Aristobulus and Hyrcanus, and they were fighting each other for the throne of Judea. And Aristobulus led siege against Yerushalayim, where Hyrcanus was headquartered, trying to take it over. But they needed lambs for the daily service in the Beis HaMikdash. So they had a system whereby money would be sent over on a basket, and then a lamb would be put in, and they would take it, and then have the lamb carried over the wall, and have it to bring as the korban, to be hoisted over. But one day an elderly man outside of the wall advised the sellers to supply a pig, a chazer, instead of a lamb. And as the pig was being hoisted up, it stuck its claw into the wall of the Beis HaMikdash, and all of Israel quaked. From that day until the end of the siege, the daily offering was not brought. Astounding. One of the reasons that we fast for all time was because the korban tamid was halted. So central was that in our avodas Hashem, in the avodah of the korban that we had to do in the Beis HaMikdash, to bring consistently a korban day in and day out, that when that halted, that was a tragedy that befell the Jewish people, something that we mourn until this day. That's the theme of focusing on tamid, consistency in our avodas Hashem. And our lives need to be consistent. And consistency comes with it a challenge of beginning to do things by rote. But consistency is the key. Having a set amount to learn every day, going to minyan 3 times a day, there is consistency that is built in. The daf yomi part of the challenge is not just the learning, but it's day out. You fall behind, and you have to catch up. Day in and day out. Shnai Mikra, day in and day out. And that's a challenge, but it prepares us for everything that we need to do in our avodas Hashem. When we have consistency, when we have tamid, when we know that we need to do, and we do it, it changes our personality, changes who we are, and it allows us to focus on Shema, on all of the other Torah values. And if that's part of what we commemorate b'Shavasar b'Tammuz, then that's part of what we have the opportunity to work on over the course of the 3 weeks, is that consistency about making tamid, making a sakevas echot, aseva bokav sakevas hashem taseh ben arbayim, the consistency in our avodas Hashem, in our tefillah, in our learning, in our chesed, in all that we do, part and parcel of who we are, and hopefully merit soon that the carbon tamid will once again be brought in the Beis HaMikdash.